Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again at the Blind Banter podcast. I'm Lorne and I'm here with my co-host Carlos. How are you doing today, Carlos?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you, Lauren?
Perfect. I'm good.
How's the Canadian summer treating you?
It's hot.
A lot of snow?
We're under...
Oh,
yeah.
I thought there was snow year round there.
Yeah, man, like these polar bears, they're just, you can't get rid of them. They're just
Did one get you last night while you were throwing out the trash?
No, but the beavers are getting bad too, so.
Oh, jeez. Like that beaver tail you handed me.
Yeah.
We should tell that story because I think it's pretty interesting. So, we've told the story, right? Lauren and I met at the Seeing Eye when we were getting our dogs. But I visited Lauren last year in Canada. We went, up where he lives. And he told me that he wanted to take me to get a beaver tail. And I asked him, I was like, so what's a beaver tail? I was like, is it meat? And he goes, yeah, it's a beaver's tail. And I was like, wow, like, do you eat it? And his wife was like, yeah, you can eat it with like peanut butter and chocolate or salt and lemon. And I was like, peanut butter and chocolate with beaver's tail? And he goes, yeah, it's good. And so I was like, all right, whatever, right? We went the next day to get these beaver tails. And the guy I asked him for a beaver tail. Now, I'm really expecting this tail-like thing to come out, right? And they handed me this big, piece of something. And I was like, oh, this is the meat I've been hearing about, right? So I bit into it, and I was like, man, this doesn't taste like meat, Lauren. He goes, it's not meat, dude. I was messing with you. He's like, it's a pastry. We just call it a beaver's tail. I was like, dude, and I'm not kidding you guys. I legitimately believed it was meat up until I took that bite. And even after that, I was like, man, this is some really tender meat. I've never tasted anything like this, I was like, it's weird. Like, I never tasted any meat like this, man. Yeah, so you guys haven't figured it out. I'm quite gullible from time to time. I guess it comes with the territory of being intelligent, Us intelligent folks are not known for our logic sometimes, especially when it comes to obvious things.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like, a lot of people may know it as an elephant ear. They use that term a lot in at the fairs and stuff in Canada, but it's a big, long, thin pastry that's, I don't know, I guess it's almost like a really thin donut, I guess, almost like not a cake donut, but like the
no,
like
I wouldn't
yeast
compare it to
donut.
a donut. I wouldn't compare it to a donut in terms of the texture and flavor. I'd probably compare it to like if you've ever had like fried crust or like fried bread of some kind, not dough, but like some kind of fried bread, because it's very soft and it's actually like, I don't know, donuts are a little harder for me. Whenever I eat donuts, they're usually pretty hard and solid. Like if I hit you with this, it would just, slap you. Whereas a donut would actually smack you. It's solid.
I would say it's like a very thin, probably as thick as like a regular piece of cardboard, but like almost like a breadstick, but that thick. Or that thin, I should say, and then it just rips apart, and it's just really easy to eat.
I got one covered with what was it? Peanut butter and Reese's Pieces, was it? Or was it M&Ms?
I think you got the Reese's Pieces one.
Yeah, it was good, but like I legitimately believed that they were going to give me a piece of meat with peanut butter, and I've seen crazy things like it, so I wasn't necessarily astonished by the meat with peanut butter. I was more astonished by like when I bit into it, I was like, man, this is so tender meat. Like, how do you get meat to be like this?
Yeah, it's almost like the fried scorpion I had at the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but the Calgary Stampede. Anyways.
Calgary Stampede is the big cowboy show.
Oh, they had a rodeo.
Yeah, it's
literally like the Texas of Canada. Well, there's oil there too, right? Yeah, perfect.
Yep. Okay. And they consider it to be the largest outdoor rodeo in the world. And like it's
I'm
massive.
sure Texans have something to do with that. I'm sure Texans have something to say about that.
But they every year they have like celebrity chefs with different things, and one year they were making deep fried scorpion, and that was interesting. So
anyways, enough about beaver tails.
So tonight's topic, as you can actually see, is we're just going to be bantering back and forth, but we're going to be talking and learning about each other a bit more. So we've got some of our favorite movies, music, those types of things, and just some more info that Carlos doesn't know about me, and vice versa. And hopefully you guys learn a lot too. So let's get into it. First one, favorite movie, Carlos, or movies?
I don't really watch movies. I'm going to be honest with you. The last movie I watched probably like in 2010. I'm a huge book reader, but with that being said, I think my favorite movie at that point was this creepy movie that came out probably back in the early 2000s called One Missed Call. And have you heard of it?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, that was, man, it scared me. I'm not gonna lie, man, it got me. And every time like I heard anything like it, because it was like a little ding ding ding, like a little creepy little tune. Anything I ever even hear like the high note on the piano, it would creep me out. So I necessarily, some people would be like, so then why is your favorite? It's freaking me out, but I like being scared. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I feel like life isn't something without a little spice thrown in, and for me, that's usually some fear. So, Lorne, tell us about your favorite movie.
So I'm gonna have to go top three because I don't really have just one specific one. But so definitely my top two is a tie for Forrest Gump, as well as The Blind Side, which is hilarious. But The Blind Side has nothing to do with blind people.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask, like, what's going on there?
Yeah, no. So The Blind Side's it's a football movie with Bobby Orr. Is it Bobby Orr? Yeah, he's the football player, and he's taken in by, well, the player is a Susan. Oh man, I'm bad. I'm bad with names. Anyways, great movie. It's based on true stories, and I really like it. Again, I think it's Susan Sarandon is in there. I could be completely wrong. I'm horrible with artists or actors and actresses and stuff, but I just like the shows. So
Yeah.
it's really good. And then yeah, of course, Forrest Gump. And I also really like the Scary Movie series. They're not scary at all. They're absolutely hilarious, and I find them just, I don't know. I'm really like the one and done type humor, and I like it dry. So it's very similar to kind of my type of humor. So that's kind of why I like it. But it's those are probably my three favorites. But I watch some movies with, I don't know, probably at least a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So
I can't get into movies. I think part of it is because I'm a very impatient person, and like even now, it's funny because I started watching YouTube videos at 1.5 speed, like just in general, and now I can't watch a YouTube video unless it's 1.5 speed. Like it just, I'm like, I'm wasting time here. So I don't know. Like for me, that's just kind of I'm a very impatient person, and I can never sit down for, what is it, like almost 2 hours for a movie. Although Stephen King's coming out with some great stuff on Hulu, miniseries and stuff like that, and I might watch those just because I'm a huge fan of his books. So that kind of pivots me a little bit into the next question that we had, Lauren, here.
Oh, sorry. Just to go back real quick. It was Sandra Bullock, and it's not Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr is the NHL guy. It was Michael Orr. My apologies.
The NHL. You got him completely mixed up.
Sorry.
Anyways, let's talk about our favorite books. So I can start. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, as I was saying earlier. Like those are probably some of the only things that I've watched that are visual type things on TV or movies or whatever. In particular, I'm a big fan of The Stand. The Stand. If have you heard of it, Lorne?
Yeah, I love Stephen King.
Oh,
absolutely
so
love
good.
Stephen King.
And it's kind of like creepy relative to today, right? Because it's about a huge plague. Although in another way, it's not, because the plague there kills 99.9% of people, which this one definitely does not. And it causes like a massive upheaval in the earth, and there's a fight between good and evil symbolically, and all this stuff. It's crazy, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it like messed up my development because I started reading these books when I was only like 13 years old, and like I knew things that I shouldn't have known way before. You know what I mean? Like, But no one, my parents never stopped me because they don't believe in that. And I don't know. I like I said, I still love Stephen King. I love whenever he releases a new book. It's like my favorite day. I carve out the whole day so I can read the book. Just fantastic. What about you, Lauren?
So I'm very similar. I love Stephen King, and I'm also a big Tom Clancy type person. And another really good book that I love is Lucifer's Hammer.
Oh, I read that one.
Yeah.
It's good.
So yeah, I really like that one in that series. But one of my favorite ones, even as a kid,
Wait, there's
was
a series?
well, there's another one from what I understand, from what I read, that was like it kind of I guess talks about it in that one. So I've read both of them, but it was a long time ago. So I like that one, but I also really like the Golden Compass series by Philip Pullman. That was really good, I found. And I also like the Artemis Fowl series by Ian Colfer. Both of them were more so when I was reading the juvenile books when I was in school.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoyed that type of stuff. But now I'm really focusing more so on reading most of the Jack Ryan series, as well as like Rainbow Six is probably one of my favorite all-time books, period.
Are you a big nonfiction person at all?
Yeah, so I love is it the Young Guns, I think it was, or no, the Young Titans, sorry, about Winston Churchill. So I've read a few documentaries on him, as well as I've read his biography, and I've read some other biographies of certain people, and I found like I enjoy learning when I'm reading, and especially a lot of World War II and the different world wars. So I like reading nonfiction when it comes to individuals that have done some really interesting things or some topics that I'm into. But I find that I'm really focusing, like I said, more so on those war and espionage thrillers.
Yeah, I just read anything, honestly, whatever comes to my mind. Like I just finished reading a book called Digital Gold about the creation and history of Bitcoin and kind of like the ideology that underpinned it. And then probably one of my favorites recently that's come up is Bad Blood. I can't think of the author's name. He's a guy who works for the Wall Street Journal. But anyways, it's about Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes and the
Mm-hmm.
massive scheme that I guess that was. And it's just interesting, right? Because whenever you have boom times like this, you always get people who come out of the woodwork and do some pretty big schemes. Like, you know, the 1920s, you had Charles Ponzi, the creator of the Ponzi scheme. And you had a lot of others that weren't written down in the history books. Just like today, you know, you had the Theranos thing. You had recently the Wirecard scandal. I don't know if you've heard about that one, Lauren. And then Luckin Coffee, or Lucan, however you say that, coffee. They were trying to be the Chinese version of Starbucks, and it turns out like they faked like $300 million in sales or something like that. So, you know, a lot of these things come to light when as Warren Buffett likes to say, right, when the tide goes out, you see who's been swimming naked. And when you have boom times, I feel like it really helps preserve a lot of those scandal types because people are not getting their traditional returns from their regular investments. So they're like, hey, you know, Lauren's offering us to sell us the Brooklyn Bridge. Like, maybe he's got something there. Let's invest with him. You know? So, yeah, I just find it interesting.
Which I believe the Brooklyn Bridge, if I'm not mistaken, has been sold 4 times illegitimately.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous number. I know that. Anything more than one seems outlandish.
and it was in the late 1800s, and it was for scrap metal. You gotta love grifters, though.
Yeah, exactly. Again, any more than one seems outlandish to me. Like, what? But I guess it's much easier when it's the 1800s, right? You never heard of any of this stuff going down. Today, it's like almost impossible. But that's what's interesting, right? You would think that it's almost impossible to pull a wool over someone's eyes, but because of all the information we have access to. But in another way, it's easy because you can convince them of something by just giving them too much information that they won't even start looking.
You know what?
You know, like,
Telemarketers calling up, being, you know, the IRS, all those other types of things. If it didn't work, they wouldn't be doing it.
Right. Well, the way I like to think about it, right? Look at all those terms and conditions. They're always like 200 pages. Who reads that? I mean, like they could be slipping some pretty interesting things in there. We wouldn't really know. The
Exactly.
average, including myself, right? The average person wouldn't know. But yeah, I guess that's the new age.
All right. So the next one, favorite foods.
Ooh, favorite foods. I'm a huge fan of burgers, and pretty much whatever you can spruce up burgers with, that's my thing. So just to give you an idea, last week I had probably one of the best burgers I've ever had. It was a 8-ounce patty, medium well, with bacon, cheese curds, and cheddar cheese sauce, along with it was optional lettuce and tomato, but it was just so big at that point that I just didn't even add it. um,
That
but
sounds good.
it was so good, dude. Especially, honestly, it wasn't perfect. It would have been perfect. It wouldn't have been perfect without the cheese sauce. The cheese sauce just gave it the right flavor. And it was it all allowed to soak into the meat, so it was just phenomenal. It was amazing. And I'm a big meat eater, so steaks are good too. Well cooked steak, I wouldn't say no to that. But generally, I find that burgers you can spruce them up in so many ways. I mean, I've had one with just general meat, bacon, barbecue cheeseburger, that type of thing. There's one place that I want to go to here in Milwaukee that has a burger with peanut butter and jelly on it, and I've read some reviews on it, and it's supposedly pretty good. So I want to try that. But that's kind of my favorite thing about burgers, right? Is you can really add almost anything you want to them. What about you, Lauren? I know you're a burger guy too.
Yeah, burgers, pizza, and pretty much poutine. I love poutine. So for a lot of our American listeners, they are cheese curds, gravy, and French fries. Absolutely delicious. But you're talking about peanut butter on a burger. So we have a chain here that it's just a local chain. There's only like I think 4 restaurants in the Ottawa area. It's called The Works, and it's just burgers. It's all burgers, everything, burgers and shakes.
Yeah.
And they had one where they were running a Reese's peanut butter cup burger, and so inside the patty they had Reese's peanut butter cup chunks in it. Oh my god, it was so good! Barbecue sauce, cheese, and bacon. It was so good.
Anyone who's listening can tell that Lauren and I really love our food. Like we are just in ecstasy over this. I think that's what makes us good too. Like that's one connection that we share is we love our food, man. Wasn't it us that we ate like half of a huge pizza together? Like we each ate half.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big eaters, guys. And that's just one of our things. But oh my god, Reese's peanut butter cups in a burger. When you think about it,
So good.
it's appetizing, but man, the contrast between the peanut butter sweetness and the saltiness of the patty is probably what makes it amazing.
Well, and because the peanut butter and chocolate is still salty as well, right? So it kind of just it was really good.
Oh jeez, now I'm hungry.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to move on before we get too hungry and have to stop the podcast?
Yeah. Otherwise, we're gonna have to order some food on the podcast.
Favorite genre of music / artist / singer songwriter?
I just listen to anything, but probably what's most of my playlist is rap. And that, I'm going to be honest, I'm a pretty basic person when it comes to that. The reason I like rap is probably because I literally open up the Billboard Hot 100 every couple weeks and go, ooh, what's trending? And then I'll be like, oh, that song sounds good. So I'm not very unique in that regard, but I'm also a huge fan of classical music. Part of it comes from when I was in band. We used to have to play a lot of those classical type songs. And, I'd listen to the orchestra practice, and the orchestra played a lot of that stuff. So that kind of got my ear perked up a little bit. And then, studying with some nice classical in the background, just something quiet with some emphasis on some of the parts, right? Like it gets you fired up. I don't know that I like classical for studying, but I'd say like if I'm going out to party or if I'm just cleaning the house and trying to get energized, I'm a rap guy. What about you, Lorne?
So yeah, my my music tastes are very eclectic as well. But I would say that for the most part, I like more of the soft techno. So I like a lot of the stuff from Lindsey Sterling. She does an electronic, like electric violin. So I really like some of that stuff. Owl City, I'm a big fan of. Lights, I really like. Mike Perry.
The MMA fighter?
Sorry?
The guy. So there's a guy in the UFC named Mike Perry, and like, he's crazy. So that's why I was like,
no, probably
a
not.
fight last week at a bar because some dude touched him. So
no, because
I
this
was like,
dude does some pretty chill stuff. And then if I want to relax, then I will put Nora Jones on. I love Nora Jones. I find it very smooth, and I can do that. Now, it's also really kind of odd, but I guess it has a lot to do with my ADD, but I really like auto-tune music. So, for example, Shmo Yoho or the Gregory Brothers, the same kind of group, they do a lot of auto-tune, both like news clips together. They auto-tune different movies, and they make them into songs. They're pretty big on YouTube, and I love them.
Yeah, you showed me one of those clips, and
it's very much of an acquired taste for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I've always liked the techno kind of an electronic music. So I guess maybe that's why it kind of works with me. And there's a lot happening in every song because there's so many people and there's so many different clips together. So having all those different types of things kind of merge into one, it works really well for me anyways. So.
Now, what about mainstream music? Are you like a Taylor Swift fan? I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I got her whole latest playlists on my phone, and it's kind of weird. Like, people are like, "Why are you listening to Taylor Swift?" Like, well, one time I was listening to music, doing dishes in my room on campus at Penn, and somebody, what could that be? Open the door, and they're like, "Why are you listening to Taylor Swift?" It was like my friend. I was like, "Why are you banging on my door?" Like, I'm also a fan of Halsey. Great music.
Yeah.
Got her latest playlist as well. That's probably my two more mainstream artist types. Otherwise, I'll just listen to any rap that kind of comes on to the shuffle playlist. It can be really anything. I don't really discriminate.
I'm into both of those. I have no issues with a little bit of T Swizzle. Halsey, I find is quite good. Ellie Goulding, Julia Michaels. So those types of things. But again, it's more of like
is Ellie Goulding the one who was doing the "Love Me Like You Do" that song?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yes,
so, and I really like Sia as well. I find she's very underrated, but I quite enjoy her music.
Never heard of Sia. Anyways, let's.
Titanium.
Nope.
Okay.
So let's pivot a little bit.
You know Diamonds from Rihanna?
Yes.
Shine Bright Like a Diamond. So Sia was the one that actually wrote that, and there was people that wanted her to sing it, and she has a very she was very frightened of groups and stages, so she ended up giving that up, and Rihanna took it and ran with it.
It's a good song.
It's very good. Okay, now this is one that Carlos wanted to put down under here. Your biggest fear. So he said he had a story, so I want to hear this just like everybody else.
No, I had the story for the what was it? For the craziest experience. That's another one I told you to add. No, the biggest fear one. I think that this one's interesting. I'm afraid of rats. I can't stand it if there's a rat. So just tell you, I guess I do have a story here. So one time there was I was doing homework in my room at Penn, and there's a big duct, just to give you the picture more, and there's a big duct of where the heat comes out, right? And I had some papers floating around over there because I'm organized in my own way, but most people would call it messy. So I had a big stack of papers on the floor next to this heating duct, and all of a sudden these papers start rustling, right? And I didn't realize it, but the heat was getting lower and lower because it's like automatic temperature control or whatever, so the fan speed changes. And as it got lower and lower, the papers would start rustling because before it was floating over them, but it started hitting them. And so I heard these rustling papers, and I was like, what is that? And so I threw something over there, right? And of course, because these papers floating around, they didn't stop. So I was like, oh my God, it's a rat. So I was trying to control myself, and Fenway was there. And so I grabbed him and I was like, go over there. Go, what's there? And like he wouldn't go over there because there was nothing there. So he would kind of walk around in a circle. I was like, go get it, go get it. And like, he was like, what's going on? Like, there's nothing here. And so finally I heard like something falling over, or at least I thought it was. Turns out it was just a bottle of, I think it was like a bottle of Coke that I was drinking, and it tipped over, right? And so I thought like, this rat's coming now. So I ran out the door. And the door's locked behind you. So I got locked out my room. So I had to walk across the quad to go get my key and get one of the people to let me back in, because I couldn't, like, I locked Fenway in the room with the angry rat, which is what I thought. When I got back in, I realized, and I like cautiously went over there because I was like, okay, this rat, there's no rat that would do this for like this long a time, right? This paper's rust. And no, it was just these papers, and I felt very, very crazy. But I was like, man, I don't take my chances with rats, man. I can't do it. Like they're fearsome animals, man. They eat their own young.
Oh yeah,
They're hungry. Yeah, and
and they're
there's
so
a
full of
video.
diseases.
Exactly, man. Like just imagine one biting you. Oh, like if somebody told me that my house had it, not even was infested or anything, just had a rat in it, I'd be like, I'm selling it. I'm selling it.
I'm not bringing anybody in. I'm not going to bring an exterminator. I'm just going to sell it.
Right, like, sir, this is actually quite cheap. Actually, if you just pay me $1,000, no, I want to sell it. Get it on the market as soon as possible. And next time you find me a house, don't find me one with rats in it. But anyways, what about you? What is your biggest fear?
I have to say one of the biggest fears I have right now, and it's completely unwarranted because obviously I know I'm not going to ever do it, but it's when I'm holding Sky, who is 7 months old, and it's like, hey, am I going to drop her, or am I going to be walking and end up tripping over something and then go down with her? So I think that's probably my biggest fear right now. Previous to that, I was really not overly fearful of anything. I was to the point of where I was so stubborn that I would be walking without a dog or a cane and I'd hit like a sign, right? And to me, it'd be like, oh, just damn sign, end of story. But of course, I never learned to maybe take something so I wouldn't hit those signs. So I never really got scared of that. But growing up in rural Saskatchewan, well, there's enough rats everywhere that you're not too worried. Raccoons, not too worried. Those types of things. So I think that
So
would
if a
be
rat
my
was in your
biggest.
house, you wouldn't sell it?
No. I'd go to the dollar store and pick up, a 3-pack of traps for $1.50.
What if you saw it in your room, man? If I saw it in my room, it's over. Like, that rat won.
Well, I know for a fact Herbie would go after it. So, because we had a squirrel in our backyard, and I remember this was 2 years ago roughly, and so my wife went to go let them out, and Herbie ran right for it and had it in its mouth. And he was like trying to shake it, and she's like, let it go. And he dropped it, and it scurried away. But I know that if something was to be moving around, for example, like when we had a bird that came through the chimney, Herbie quite had some fun going up to it and growling at it and going and trying to chase it. So I'm not too worried.
Well,
I think he would go after it.
well, that's what I think is interesting, right? Because I've heard a lot of people complain about mice in the dorms, and I've never had one in my room. Now, my friend raised a question. She's like, how do you know Fenway just doesn't eat them? It's like, well, I don't, like I've never heard of eating one, so maybe he does. But I'm like, I'm glad, because if there was a mouse there, I'd be going to the dean's office like, I want a room switch. Well, what's going on? Terrible things are happening in my room. I can't be there anymore. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, rats, not a fan.
Okay, so this is now Carlos's other one. Craziest thing that happened to you?
Yeah, so this is the story I had. So this was recently, and I'm, obviously we all have different stories, but this is probably the one that happened to me most recently. So I went to the coffee shop, and my favorite coffee shop is finally doing outdoor dining. So you can go, have a bite, grab something. I usually like to go in the morning because it's still relatively chilly. Otherwise, it gets up to like 90. But anyways, so I went over there, grabbed a bite, and while I was waiting in line, I ordered on the app, and I was waiting in line to get my food. And this little kid nearby, she goes, or I guess it was a he, I'm not sure. She goes, or it's like, Mom, can I touch the dog? And she's like, no, honey, that dog is working, you know? And he goes, but Mom, I want to touch the dog. Like, no, I told you no. Now stand here. And then she went over to get her food, I guess, right? You know, so I'm standing there, waiting. And then she comes back, she's like, let's go. And she's like, Mom, I touched the dog. And he didn't know. And I was like, I was just standing there like, what? Like, you shouldn't do that. That is very naughty, Derek. I think his name is Derek or Eric, something like that, right? She's like, I'm sorry, sir. You touched your dog. I guess he didn't know. He goes, yeah, he didn't know, Mom. I went up right to the dog and touched it and licked my hand. I was like, I'm so sorry. That is very naughty. I was like, Karen, get your son under control and have him stop touching my dog. So that was crazy. How this little kid's gonna grow up to be something, man. Like he's like, I went over and touched the dog and he didn't even know. He must have been like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like this was a very, very small kid. So I didn't really care. You know, it's not like this kid was old enough to really know better. But man, when you see little kids like that, they're devious already at that age. Like they've got a future in some way. Maybe not the best future, but they've got a future of some kind. So what about you? What's the craziest experience that happened to you recently?
Well, I think of all time, it was probably when I might have been about 8. I want to say 7 or 8. And we were driving down a rural Saskatchewan going to my grandmother's acreage. And all of a sudden we had this little Hyundai Stellar and the hood started smoking. Yeah, werewolf popped up, yeah. Long story short, there was a huge recall for electrical on it. And I guess the electrical went in it and it started a fire. And so I still remember watching this entire vehicle because of it having, like, you had to call a volunteer fire department, and for them to get mobilized and to be in the middle of Saskatchewan, like, I think the nearest town was about probably 20 minutes away. So we had 3/4 of a tank of gas. So I got to finally actually see what a car looked like after it exploded.
So it blew up. Holy crap.
Yeah. So tires went first. They sounded just like popcorn. Pop, 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 pop.
Like firecrackers.
Yep, exactly. And then all of a sudden just poof. And the whole thing just went flying. And, I'm 8 going, oh, this is so cool. And Mom was like, it's my car. So that was probably the craziest thing. That, and then recently, it was when my wife was giving birth in December on the 2nd. We were waiting for the doctor to come in, and we were just with the other nurse. And the other doctor wasn't even at the hospital, so she was on her way. And the nurse just looked at me and goes, "There's no way the doctor's gonna make it. Get on the other side. Let's do this together." So. So I got to help deliver Sky, but it was a very interesting experience.
Wait, where? Like, I'm fine, remember? Like,
yeah, well, you know what? She was really good at kind of explaining everything, and then they were able to set up the umbilical cord so that I was we to cut it. So that was really interesting, but it was just a good group of nurses there that when we were at the Queensway Carleton here in Ottawa. So we were really happy with it, even though we spent 4 days in there. Long story. But
yeah, I remember you calling me that time.
Yeah, but no, it was great, and it was literally one of the craziest things I've ever done as of so far.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like, I'm just imagining, like, in a movie, what would have happened. Like, you would have put your hand on something and, like, knocked it over and, like, you know. Man, it's wow.
All right, going to the next one. Favorite destination?
I think I like traveling in general, and I'm just a big person with experiencing new things, right? Before I was went to college, I'd really never done much traveling, definitely not independently. But now I really like going places anywhere, right? Like people don't like New York, but I love New York because it's full of so many different situations and craziness. And like, there's so many people. I mean, this is probably not going to be the same after COVID-19, but like when I was there last year, like there's so many people there, and like it's just like you're moving in hordes of people. It was just outrageous. And then, oh man, there's probably not a great experience that I had, but like going through the revolving doors and like all these people are pushing through, and like, what the hell's going on? Why is this stopped? You know, like, just having like, I don't know. I won't say I like stress, but it's definitely adds a little to your life. If you go, like, if I were to travel to, rural Wisconsin to like a state fair or something, right? It'd be pretty nice because people would be like, oh, honey, can I help you? And all that. But it also wouldn't be enjoyable because there wouldn't be as many challenges, There wouldn't be as many things to navigate and different things to, where every day you could literally wake up and face something different. So I really like that. I like big cities, Toronto, New York, Chicago. I'm hoping to make it to like Paris and London at some point after this pandemic. And so big cities, I'd say, is probably the answer. Lorne?
So, see, it's hard. I've been very lucky to go to a fair amount of places in my lifetime. And of course, I'm going to say my favorite destination, of course, is home because, well, I feel comfortable here. But I think that probably my most recent favorite spot would have been Italy when we went for our honeymoon. We went for 2 weeks, and we just got to go all over Italy, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. Now, it could have been the company I was with, but which probably had a lot to do with it. But it was just absolutely incredible. We were able to go see some of the catacombs and go to the Vatican and just see all these different things that were the really, really boring Leaning Tower of Pisa. It was just, that was honestly the most, I've seen so many different things about the Leaning Tower, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so cool. It was so boring. It was literally
Did you climb up on it?
No. But it's literally just a leaning tower in the middle of a field. There's like 2 or 3 other buildings, but that's it. So it was very disappointing. And even the tour guide goes, you've all heard it. You all want to go to it. The next time you come to Italy, you'll say, oh, we're going to Leaning Tower. Oh, can I skip it? But Pompeii was absolutely incredible. I really liked Pompeii. And being able to actually stand inside of the Colosseum, that was absolutely life-changing for me. I loved it so much. I'm a big history buff. No, but a gladiator, he came looking for me. So,
but you wouldn't have been a gladiator, Lorne. You would have been the feed.
Oh no! I'm okay with being a spectator. Thank you. Front row.
I would have been a gladiator, though.
Yeah. So no, it was really neat, and being able to see some of the falls and being able to go inside of a volcano in Iceland, that was really cool. We went through a debunked lava field, and it took about 45 minutes to get to the volcano. And then we took kind of like a coal shaft cart down the mouth of the volcano and inside. So we were able to see all the stalactites and stalagmites and everything. And that was just absolutely incredible, being able to do that and going to like Reykjavik and all these Keflavik. So that was really cool. And then being able to go to Ireland, where my grandmother took me, because that was one of the places I've always wanted to go as well. And being able to see Killarney, Kilkenny, and just being able to go to like the Titanic Museum and see all of that stuff. We went to the where the Blarney Stone is. Able to go into some of the.
Did you do the traditional Irish thing and like?
I did kiss the Blarney Stone. I sure did. Yep.
Oh, nice.
And then we were able to go to like a river dance, an Irish river dance, and like a traditional kind of Irish meal where you could kind of go and milk the cows and get everything ready for the meal. So it was absolutely incredible. But I love traveling and going to different places, and those are probably my top 3 places that I've ever been. But, and then we're over today, so, which isn't a bad thing, but our last one is hobbies.
Well, I'm a big reader, as I've had a lot of books to mention here. I'm also a weightlifter, and I've also been trying to learn a new skill. So this summer it's coding. I'm learning Python, getting better at it. Was able to do a little bit of web scraping and stuff like that today. And just trying to get a little bit better with that, but just in general, trying to become a programmer of some kind, get the basics of software development in place. So I'm always trying to learn something new. I'm always trying to challenge myself with the weightlifting and just trying to read as much as I can, whether that be like a Stephen King or something like Bad Blood, where you know, it's something a little bit more informative. Tell me about your hobbies, Lorne. Is carrying around a child?
Well, you
What's
know,
your exercise?
being a father is a very interesting hobby, I have to say. I've been trying to look online for, you know, some Google reviews on how to do it, but it's not quite working for my
No
specific
Wikipedia entry on it. WikiHow.
That's right.
How to raise a child. Step 1
for dummies. Yeah, for dummies.
Right.
So, but no, it's been really interesting, especially with a very colicky baby. So, she's definitely got her father's attitude. So that's I guess that's karma. I'm really into, well, I like computers, electronics, but I've been really big into amateur/ham radio recently, and trying to, I guess, create like the HF rig and try to do different antenna situations for some of my handhelds. And I'd like to get a little bit more into that. So I'm still studying to take my license, and I want to do that in the next month or two to get my first one, because I don't need the advanced, but I would like to be able just to use some HF frequencies as well as UHF and VHF. So that's really one of my things. And I just like tech in general. So any type of smart home stuff, I've created the entire house for being smart home. So I'm really into that. And I do like reading when I do have the ability, but most of the time, if I'm not listening to an audiobook or a podcast, I'm either learning something. So may it be, you know, the stock market. I love collecting bullion, so silver and gold. So reading a lot on that and looking at trends in markets and just learning in general. I really like doing that. So,
well, very similar.
Yes. Silver's getting so expensive that I can't afford it anymore.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw an article about it in the WSJ. Good investment, it appears. I wasn't too big into silver before. What is it now? I remember last time I looked into it, it was like $14 an ounce.
I'm not sure what it is American, because I have everything switched over to Canadian for a reason, but it was $26.20 today. So.
Oh, let's see. It's usually 0.75. So we'll say about $18. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it could be. But the premiums on them are just absolutely ridiculous. Like, we're talking $10 a coin if you buy them brand new, and I'm going, you know, I've been doing this now for almost 5 years, and I've never seen premiums this much. Even when we had a massive silver shortage a few years back, premiums were only $3-4 above spot, and now they're $10 to $12. So it's, I don't know. It's just ridiculous, but I guess it's pandemic prepping.
Was it those Canadian double eagles? Remember when I talked about that?
Yeah. That's the good ones.
Yeah.
Super valuable.
Right. Or the Canadian hawks.
The Canadian hawks. The Canadian seagulls.
Right. Oh man.
All right, so I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us. So we are now on iTunes. We are also on YouTube and Podbean. You can email us at theblindbanter@gmail.com. You can see us on Instagram at the same thing, at The Real Blind Banter, Twitter at The Blind Banter, and Facebook just Blind Banter us. So you can pretty much just Google us and we'll show up. And definitely reach out to us and tell us anything you want to know about us, or if you have any show topics, that would be greatly appreciated, because we could definitely use some.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And until next time, stay safe.